Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to all people here and watching online. My name is Michel, and I'm a junior here at Valencia High School, and I'm here to talk to you about music and the energy of it. Now, well, I could go into like the science of the sound waves and whatnot. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to kind of demonstrate to you the power of the feeling of music. Now, let me tell you a short story about how I got here. So, in 4th grade, I began my music education. I started by playing the cello. I played it all the way up until 8th grade at Kramer. And then it was at Kramer that I kind of became self-conscious, and I realized, hey, I'm not very good at the cello. But at the same time, I had been kind of gaining interest in the bass, whether that be electric or upright, as I have here now. And so I told my parents, and I told my director at the time, I said, hey, I don't really feel like playing the cello anymore, but I would like to try the bass. And my director, Mr. Topping, he said, you know what, that's a good idea. You'd make a great bass player. You're tall, you have big hands, they're key characteristics. And so I began to play the bass, starting in my freshman year here at Valencia. And I auditioned, and I got into chamber orchestra, which is like the next step up from concert. And then the next year in 10th grade, I auditioned again. I got into camerata, which is like the next step up from chamber. And unfortunately, I auditioned this year. I didn't get into Symphonia, but next year. However, on the topic of orchestras, there are 4 main components. There are the violins, which typically have the melody. There are the violas, which have the harmony to the violins. There are the cellos, who typically are doing their own thing or have a counter melody. And then there are the basses, who provide the base or foundation, obviously. And with these 4 pieces, you can do incredible, amazing things. Even in just simply a quartet, with only a bass, a violin, and a cello, you can already do so much. So in a strings orchestra, you can play something that's kind of dark and brooding, like this. Or you can play something that's kind of fast and adventurous, like this. Now, when you hear these short excerpts, what do you think? Because personally, as a musician, I think that there's a story going on. And there is, because behind these pieces, whatever the composer's motivation was, there is like a musical story being told. And at this point, I'm only talking about a strings orchestra. Because when you start adding brasses and woodwinds and percussions, it becomes a whole other can of worms I'm not really qualified to talk about. However, things that I am qualified to talk about is guitar, which I'd like to switch over to now. Guitar is very diverse in its uses. It's very versatile. And typically, you'd hear it most prominently, and we'll say like, ooh, that's not good. You'd hear most prominently in metal or rock music. And for our purposes here today, we'll go with metal. So I'm sure the bands Metallica or Black Sabbath sound familiar to most of you, right? So for those of you that go to the gym regularly, maybe you've put on one of their songs while hitting a particularly heavy set. Maybe something like For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica. Or maybe Black Sabbath's Iron Man. Now, what I want to take away from this is, why did you put these songs on? It was to give you the motivation. It was to make you feel strong enough. It was to give you the energy to be able to push whatever heavy weight that you decide to move. Now, maybe sometimes you just want to get just in a better mood. And so you'll play something probably less intense, less loud. Excuse me. Less intense, less loud. And maybe you'll put it on your headphones or your car speaker while you go about your day. Give you the motivation to just keep on moving. However, maybe let's go to the flip side of this coin. Let's say maybe you had sort of a bad day. A long day at work, rough day at school. And so you put on something that's more somber, more sad. Something like this. Oops. Right? And maybe if you listen to the lyrics, it'll make you feel just a bit better. However, maybe on the flip side, you don't really want to relate to something. Maybe you want to make yourself feel better. So when I'm kind of feeling down, personally, I like to listen to jazz music. But even then, the energies that can make you feel in jazz music and its subgenres are so different. See, there's an artist by the name of Elijah Fox. It's very gentle piano, smooth brass. It'll help relax you, calm you down. But then on the other side, there's someone like Frank Sinatra. He's got a big, bright voice with a big, loud band in the back, and it'll help you perk your mood back up. And so, at this point, there are so many undetermined genres that are just somewhere in the middle between jazz and metal and computer-generated music, which is not AI, but produced, that if you play them, they sound good, and they make you feel good. It's a very linear thing. And despite all of this, I have yet to mention international music. Now, personally, I really like international music. One of my favorite musicians is an Ecuadorian man by the name of Julio Jaramillo, who unfortunately passed away in 1978. However, one of my favorite songs of his is called Reminiscencias, or Reminiscences. And this is a short part of it. And so, even then, international music doesn't stop at its own country. There's a Japanese composer who's composed a soundtrack to multiple different animes, and this composer is named Shiro Sagisu. And he's composed these soundtracks to an anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion and Bleach. And Bleach is an anime that has a lot of Spanish influence. And one of my personal favorites is this track called Clavar la Espada, which translates to thrust the sword. And in it, you can hear it in the background of multiple different of the other pieces in this, in the score. And it sounds like this. Oops. And while I would also like to mention that people who maybe aren't born and raised in the United States, maybe they'll feel a sense of homesickness, or even pride, you might say, when listening to music from their own home country. But the thing is that music makes them feel, and it has the energy and power to do that in just one song. And because of this, music becomes underutilized by most people in their everyday life. Because music is more than just noise. Music is a tool. It's a feeling. It can even be a weapon. Because I know all of you have heard a bad song at some point. And that's the beautiful thing about music. There's always going to be something for everyone. And what's even better is that it can be enjoyed by anyone. Even the hearing impaired, they can still feel the vibrations of the music. And because of this, I think one of the greatest joys in life is being able to experience the effects of music. Thank you.